So, if you follow my Instagram stories, then you might know that I jumped on the celery juice train a while ago. And finally, I'm here to share my experience and shed the light on the correct way of consuming it. I have to be clear, I'm in no way trying to convince anyone to drink celery juice. This will be your own personal decision. I'm just here to share my own experience, and I know that many people are already looking forward to it.
Drinking celery juice goes back to 1975 when Anthony William, known as medicalmedium, recommended celery juice to ease the back pain of one of his family members who had fell down the stairs. Amazingly enough, this person felt relief in just a few hours. A few years later, he suggested it to another family member with severe case of acid reflux. Then, at the age of 13-14, when he was working at the local supermarket, he took health consultations to customers. His employer even got him a juicer so that he could offer celery juice to people. This is how it all began. People started to experience relief and even heal their chronic illnesses. For a full story, you can read his book, Celery Juice. So, while I usually support facts that have scientific backup, I simply cannot turn a blind eye on thousands of people who have healed consuming celery juice. Nor can I ignore the fact that, for example, Chinese medicine is not backed by science, but still has been helping people for thousands of years. Even today, there is a lot that science has not yet discovered, which does not make the facts and connections inexistent. And another important reason is the amount of misinformation that circles around the internet. Before starting to write the blog post, I actually watched several YouTube videos made by influencers with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. They had not done their homework and simply followed a trend, making many mistakes on the way.
I wanted to drink celery juice for 30 days before jumping into any conclusions or sharing my experience. I need to be honest with you though, I haven't drunk celery juice 30 days in a row, and the reason was that I was cut off from the supply when 21 days were over. So I went without juice for 5 days before I could resume to the juice regime. Why I decided to do the juicing anyway? It's because I've been dealing with some health issues that I haven't been able to tackle even with diet or supplementation. So I thought, why not try this celery juice thing out? First thing, I have a history of chronic sinusitis and therefore congested airways, especially during the pollen season. I literally rinsed my nose with half-liter salt water every day just to be able to sleep at night. And secondly, I have ridges on my nails, and finally I've got some fibroids. Who doesn't, right? Okay, I will return to those issues towards the end of this video to see how celery juice was able to help me.
That's plain and simple. Drinking 16 ounces, that is 500 milliliters or 2 glasses of pure celery juice on an empty stomach daily can provide you with dozens of health benefits. Anthony William explains in his book Celery Juice why it is essential to drink 16 ounces at one go. So, if you're just starting out, work your way up from 4 to 8 ounces though, as you might experience detox symptoms if your body is really toxic. You can also drink more, but Anthony does not recommend going over 10 glasses per day. You have a few options when it comes to juicing celery. You can either use a juicer. A masticating juicer is the best, but also centrifuge one will work fine. In fact, this is what you see me using here. Alternatively, you can also use high-speed blender or food processor. You simply chop the green stalks into smaller chunks and process them until you have celery puree. And then, using a fine sieve, cheesecloth, or nut milk bag, you squeeze the juice out. Make sure not to add any water to ease the blending though. I empty my centrifuge juicer halfway down, otherwise it would jump around like crazy and I would need a third hand to hold it still. And here I have my 500 milliliters. There's still quite a bit of juice in the pulp, so I simply squeeze it out with my hands. I think I get about 100 milliliters of juice from the pulp, and that's not a trivial amount. I pour the juice through a fine metal sieve not to have any pieces of the pulp in my juice and drink it up. So, cheers! You can call me crazy, but I absolutely loved the taste of celery juice the first time I had it. It was kind of salty and sweet at the same time. So there was really no effort to get the 16 ounces down. And yes, I went for 16 ounces straight away. You can start slower though. 4 to 8 ounces, that's half to 1 glass at a time, and then simply work your way up. I soon learned that the taste depends greatly on the batch of celery. The thumb rule here is the lighter, brighter green the color is, the tastier the juice is. If it is kind of brownish, the taste will be quite bitter. And finally, if your celery stalks are really thin, darker green and come with lots of leaves, then the juice will be quite intense, almost poison green. Anthony Williams says that in this case, you could also drink a bit less as the juice is more potent. Strangely enough, after having a few batches of quite bitter juice, it became rather difficult for me to get it down. Not that it discouraged me in any way, no, I just kept on going. It gets a bit more difficult towards the end, but that's because I've already had plenty. And there are no delusions here. Celery is freaking expensive. And I even got a deal from my local organic shop, and I ended up paying almost 6 euros per day's worth of celery juice. And simple math tells you that 21 days cost me about 126 euros. Now, I can totally understand that many people simply can't afford it. However, the good news here is that Anthony Williams says that it's even okay to choose conventional celery if you don't have access to organic one. It's just important to wash each stalk with scent-free soap very carefully. This is also what I'll opt for from now on. I will be choosing both organic and conventional celery just to keep the costs down. So let's see what celery juice did to me. What were my results? Firstly, I had pollen-driven headaches for a week just before I started juicing, and to my great surprise, those headaches disappeared already from day one. I couldn't have been happier, and they have not returned either. Secondly, after about 5 days of juicing, I decided why not try not to rinse my nose in the evening just to see whether I was able to get some sleep. And again, I was surprised to see that I was able to sleep through the night and the nose didn't bother me. Another positive thing I noticed was elimination. I guess many people can relate here. I wasn't constipated or anything before, but this was a whole new level. I mean, literally for three to 4 days, I went to toilet 3 times a day, and I mean, I went properly, and that was a huge relief. And but I guess once I was completely emptied out, it all returned back to normal. And I have to say, I never had diarrhea or to lose stool or anything, because I'm saying that because I've noticed from the videos I've been watching that many people confess to having diarrhea. As far as my nails and fibroids go, I guess I'll need to keep on juicing longer. I think it will take much longer time to see results here, so I will just keep on going.
Yes, even I made some mistakes. The biggest one was not to read Anthony Williams' Celery Juice book before I started juicing. Now I know there is a lot of information on his blog medicalmedium.com, but still it doesn't compare to the tips and information that's in his book. What I did wrong was that I ate fatty foods, that is nuts and seeds, as my first breakfast after having celery juice, so 30 minutes after I had my celery juice. And this is what he praises against. Instead, you should keep your breakfast fat free, and in fact, decreasing the fat and intake in general would be very beneficial. Furthermore, there are unproductive foods that should be eliminated or avoided: gluten, eggs, dairy, soy, and corn. Now, you know that I don't do animal products anyway. I also have no hard time keeping away from corn and gluten. I haven't been eating them for 3 years already. However, I'm finding it really difficult to keep away from soy because I love my plain soy yogurt, my tempeh, my tofu, and it just seems difficult for me. But I know that if I really want to commit to it, I can do it because 3 years ago, when I started my vegan Candida diet journey, I thought I would never be able to live even one day without fruits. But it turned out to be much easier than I thought. If you're interested, you can read more on the unproductive foods from his book, Celery Juice.
Number 1. Drink 16 ounces of pure celery juice every morning on an empty stomach. Next, wait 20 to 30 minutes before you consume anything else, drink, or food. Wait at least 2 hours before consuming any fatty foods, that is, nuts, seeds, avocado, olives. Also, try to cut down your overall fat consumption. Then, use organic celery whenever possible. Should you have conventional celery, make sure to wash every stalk thoroughly with non-scented soap. Also, don't mix anything into your celery juice, not stevia or other sweeteners, water, lemon juice, apple cider vinegar, nor other fruit or vegetable juices. Don't drink it in the middle of the day when you have already consumed other foods and drinks. Drink freshly made celery juice. It should be consumed within 24 hours from making it, if you store it in sealed jar in fridge. But be aware that the juice loses its potency by hour. And finally, celery powder, celery juice powder, and celery tablets won't replace fresh juice. Also, eating celery won't give you the same benefits.
I wake up between 5:30 and 6 a.m. and start my morning with 20-minute yoga session while oil pulling. After that, I drink 16 ounces of lemon water with juice from half lemon. And then it's time for a 40-minute walk. And after I get back, I start juicing and have my 16 ounces of celery juice. The juicing, cleaning up, and drinking takes me about 20 minutes each morning. And finally, when I've had my juice, 30 minutes later, I have a fat-free breakfast, either some fruits or berries or a heavy metal detox smoothie from Anthony's book Celery Juice. Now, in case it is impossible for you to make the juice in the morning just to fit it into your morning routine, then alternatively, you could also pre-make the juice the night before and store it in fridge in a sealed container or jar. But the juice definitely needs to be drunk in 24 hours, but you need to be aware that it loses its potency by hour. Anyway, if you have the possibility, then always try to drink it fresh. So what else is there to say? Just to sum it up, I wanted to say that I'm certain that now when I'm adhering to all the correct techniques, it's only a matter of time before I see results with my other symptoms as well, or not, who knows, we'll see, the future shows us. But the bottom line here is if you try out a new remedy, whatever it is, celery juice or anything else, be sure to turn to the original source to make sure that you are doing everything correctly and you are getting the most benefits out of it. And don't just rely on those YouTube videos that don't even refer to original source. That, to me, it says that they have not done their homework and can lead you to wrong conclusions or give you wrong tips, and you might not get the most benefits out of it. So yeah, let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this video or if you have tried celery juice yourself and what have been your results and experiences. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, see you next time and happy juicing!
I'll be here creating new delicious and healthy recipes. So, if you want to fuel your body with nutritious food, join this community by subscribing.